The Crazy One, an original story by Sebastian Iturralde. As the last remaining sane person on Earth, Titus watched in horror as the rest of humanity slowly succumbed to the effects of a deadly poison. It had started without warning, spreading rapidly and infecting everyone in its path. Titus had been at work when the symptoms had first appeared. Colleagues had suddenly collapsed in their cubicles, writhing in agony as their bodies convulsed and their skin turned a sickly shade of green. Panic spread through the office as people realized that something was seriously wrong. Within hours, the streets outside were filled with people stumbling around in a daze, their eyes glazed over and their mouths frothing with blood. Titus had been one of the lucky few who had managed to avoid the initial outbreak, but he knew that it was only a matter of time before he too would fall victim to the deadly poison. As he walked through the deserted streets, Titus couldn't help but wonder what had caused this catastrophic event. Was it an accident, a deliberate act of terrorism, or something even more sinister? The sun beat down on his face, casting a harsh light over the empty buildings and abandoned cars that littered the streets. In the distance he could hear the sound of sirens wailing, but he knew that there was no one left to answer their call. As he rounded a corner, he came face to face with a group of infected people. Their eyes were wild and unfocused, and they stumbled towards him with outstretched hands, their fingers curling into claws. Titus backed away slowly, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that he couldn't stay here any longer, that he had to find some way to survive in this new poisoned world. As he turned and fled down the street, his mind raced with thoughts of how he could save himself. He knew that he had to find a cure, or at least some way to protect himself from the deadly poison that was slowly destroying humanity. But as he looked back over his shoulder, he knew that it was too late. The infected had multiplied, their numbers growing by the second, until the streets were filled with nothing but their twisted, writhing forms. And at that moment, as he watched the world around him crumble and fall, Titus knew that he was the last person on Earth who would remember what it was like to be truly sane.